Wickenburg, Arizona. This is Cactus Cliff, and I'm here with Buckwheat Pete, and we're going to tell you a big yarn about a Scarab. And although he is the historian and I'm the brains, we're going to do the best we can to get this out to you. So I'm going to turn it over to Pete for the history of this car, as I failed history and he's much better at it.
Howdy folks. In 2007, an old friend of mine, Dick Kitzmiller, who's in Kansas City along with Beth Schmidt, got a crazy idea to make continuation cars of the Scarab, of which there were 3 original roadsters. They were made in 1958. When Dick got the idea, we went back and I met with Dick, and I'm an old Cobra guy myself, so I love the old early race cars. And I met with Dick and his brother Norm Kitzmiller in Scottsdale. We sat down and hashed this out. I asked Dick, I said, well, what's your plan? He said, I've been researching the history of this car for some 3 or 4 years, maybe longer than that. It's certainly probably the most desirable car to be replicated in the world, not just in the United States. So I said, well, what kind of body? He said, I've got a aluminum manufacturer we're going to go see. I said, that's a great start. He said, and the frame is a 4130, all TIG welded frame, 95% accurate to the original. I said, my goodness, that's absolutely awesome. That started. It has a winter center section in the back, which is basically a heavier duty version of the original Held-Rank quick change rear end. The small block Chevy is still the engine of choice. Most of the cars, there are approximately 22 that have been built so far, most of those cars have small block Chevys in the 350 versions. Cliffs, of course, has the 283, one has the 327. 2 of the cars built have the LS engines. Kind of a hybrid thing, but it's a very fast car too. The car only weighs about 2,100 pounds, so when you get much over 400 horsepower, it's a little hard to get much more of that horsepower to the ground. Don Devine drove the car at Elkhart Lake when we debuted it in 2007. And after Don had taken a couple of laps, I said, Don, what do you think? He said, it drives just like a Scarab that I remember. Don actually owned one of the original Scarabs. Augie Paps was there with his car also. Augie just sold his original Scarab, I believe it was the number 2 Scarab, to a fellow in Southern California for a lot of money. So it was a really great chance at the 50th reunion back in Elkhart Lake to debut the car and to watch the cars on the track and then to have one of ours driven. During that time, the guy who was the division chief of SVRA came and looked at our car, went back and forth between the original car and the Scarab Motorsports car, back and forth, back and forth. And he came to us, he said, okay, you guys can race it if you put the smaller brakes on it. You have iron heads and you have a 4-speed. 2 of the cars have been built, and they've been track-only cars. The guys have been very successful and had a great time. The body, which is absolutely one of the most beautiful bodies ever designed, was designed by Chuck Pelley in Southern California at the Art Center when he was all of 18 years old. I asked Chuck a few years ago what lines he put into this body. And his answer was that this body has many of the lines of every favorite car he's ever had. Consequently, that's an absolutely gorgeous body he designed. It's a long enduring body style, and it's still popular today, still as beautiful as it was in 1958. Dick asked me to come back and join him. We went to Poland. We talked to some manufacturers there, the body guys who were absolutely flawless craftsmen. We spent a week with them. Dick was very impressed with the quality of their work. That started the body building. And Dick lives in Kansas City. He has a complete shop down there. They have a jig. The street cars, as we call them, use modern Corvette C6 uprights and brakes. The cars that are actually SVRA qualified use a smaller brake because this thing has giant wheelwoods on the street. And the smaller brakes in the early model Corvettes, and they are a disc brake. The original car had inboard double drums in the back on a Dadion rear end, and the fronts were 58 Mercury Turnpike Cruiser brakes, drum brakes. Dick and crew are in the process of replicating that car, known as a Meister Browser now in Kansas City, along with continuation cars of the street version. What you've seen today is the number 19 chassis built, which belongs to this young fellow right over here, who put it together, drives it, loves it, as does every Scarab owner so far that has purchased and built their own Scarabs. The history of the car is pretty well documented. 1958, the Revetlo family, Lance Revetlo, who was all of about 21 years old, and the son of the heiress to Barbara Hutton. And his buddy Bruce Kessler, who was also a car nut, went racing in Europe. And Lance came up with the idea that he thought he could build a car as good as anything he saw over there. Whether it was an Aston Martin, a Ferrari, Maserati, Mercedes-Benz, a Porsche, etc., etc. Back to Southern California they went. A bunch of hot rodders down there, including Chuck Day, Phil Remington, and drivers like Don Devine. All got together. They put that car together. Chuck actually built most of it along with Lance after Chuck Pelly had designed the body. They built that engine. Troutman and Barnes built the body, and Trocco built the engine. So it was a Southern California hot rod that happened to go around corners. The car was extremely successful. Most every race that they finished in the United States, they won. This last year at Monterey, the 60th anniversary of the Corvette, we took this young guy's car out there, and fortunately for everyone, the #1 original car was also there. To this day, in 2013, that car was back on the track. It's worth millions and millions. They drove the pants off that car and blew everybody off the track, just as it had done 50 years ago. Wonderful car to drive on the street, wonderful car for everybody to see. We enjoy it. We think you'll enjoy it.